Inquisition supports free mages. What's next? Elves running Halamsharal? Cows milking farmers?
I take it you don't agree?
On the contrary, I approve. Heartily. I do wonder if you've considered what this support of yours will do. For mages in general, I mean. The Inquisition is seen as an authority. You've given southern mages license to, well, be like mages back home.
If that means they're anything like you, I approve.
Ha! There aren't many mages back home like me.
I'd believe that.
I never fit in. Bloodstains are so difficult to clean, you see.
So we're doomed to a future of blood magic, then?
Not at first. But you'd be a fool not to see where this could lead. Thing is, the Imperium was once just like the South. Templars, proper circles, all that rot. Then it changed. By inches. Not that this is reason to oppress us. Still, my homeland should be a cautionary tale, not a source of inspiration.
It occurs to me that I barely know anything about you.
Beyond my being a mage from Tevinter, you mean?
Beyond that, yes.
And beyond my being so charming and well-dressed, which is obvious to anyone.
I'm well aware of your finer qualities, believe me.
Of course I believe you. The moment I saw you, I thought, there's a man who knows quality. Now, what was I talking about? Ah, yes, me. I am the scion of House Pavus, a product of generations of careful breeding and the repository of its hopes and dreams. Naturally, I despised it all. The lies, the scheming, the illusions of supremacy. That's Tevinter in a nutshell, isn't it? Needless to say, my family was not happy with my choices.
Why would your family be upset with your choices?
Because I rejected their idyllic plan. If they had their way, by now I'd be married to some unlucky girl from a powerful family. We'd live in luxurious despair, despising each other as I waited to take my father's place in the magisterium. I declined the honor, and thus it's best I'm far from home. Less of an embarrassment that way, you see.
What do you mean by generations of careful breeding?
The great families of Tevinter don't have children. They refine traits, weed out the undesirable, and promote the rest. My mother was chosen for my father because magic runs strongly in her blood. Never mind that they loathed each other. They wanted a son who could become Archon to make House Pavus the envy of the Imperium. They got me. A cautionary tale that you should be careful what you wish for.
I'm getting the impression that you don't care much for your homeland.
On the contrary, I care for my homeland a great deal. There's so much potential. Sadly, we squander it. We refuse to acknowledge how far we've fallen because pretending is easier. We pretend the Canary can be beaten. We pretend that we're superior to everyone, even our own people. Not everyone feels that way. I don't. Sadly, we're the minority.
It just seems... so much of what you say about the Imperium is entirely negative.
It might sound that way. For all our faults, my people have many virtues. We are laden with history and culture. Tevinter is where Thedas truly began, remember? We treasure our past and preserve it. You can walk down a side street and find nothing built during the modern ages. And despite appearances, we care. Deeply, about everything. We have no reserve, not in war and not in love. If I truly believed my homeland was beyond all hope, I wouldn't miss it so much.
Why remain with the Inquisition? Why not go back to Tevinter?
I'm not exactly welcome back home. Not that it matters, I'm quite accustomed to being a pariah. It adds to my charm. I can do more for Tevinter here. If the Venatori succeed, it'll set my homeland back 1,000 years. I'm sure some magisters would disagree. But that's why we kill them.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Ah, yes. Everyone outside the Imperium always seems quite fascinated by it. Probably why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. Flying cows over Minrathous. It's madness. All right, that one's actually true, but the cows didn't have wings. I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
Just how often is blood magic used there?
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
That's what any magister would tell you. They'd be convincingly offended by the notion, too.
Of course, what people call blood magic here, and what we consider blood magic, are two different things.
What's considered actual blood magic in Tevinter?
Blood magic isn't inherently dangerous. Using your own blood or that of a willing participant, what's the harm? The problem is that what's permitted only gets you so much power. And what if you need more? You always need more. That's where we get into sacrifices and demon summoning. None of that is done. Not officially. Behind closed doors, it's a different story. Real blood magic can give you an edge, a leg up against your opponents. It's safe to assume that any mage of rank does it. The rest are quietly shut out of power, to put it bluntly.
You'd think the Templars would object.
I imagine they did, long ago. Once, their investigations might have been sincere. Then their balls were cut off. Too inconvenient. Nowadays, only the friendless are accused. Most of them probably innocent.
There must be some mages who oppose this.
Of course. I do. And I'm not entirely alone. Occasionally, there'll be a magister who makes noise, and then the reform talk begins. All very patriotic. Meanwhile, that magister will be quietly shunned. Chances are, surprise, it's learned he was a Maleficar all along. Most learn to keep quiet. Me? I enjoy the allure of pariahhood.
Anyone who talks about the Imperium mentions slavery. It's the center of the slave trade.
Ah. That is true.
And? Did you have slaves?
Not personally, but my family does and treats them well. Honestly, I never thought much about it until I came south. Back home, it's how it is. Slaves are everywhere. You don't question it. I'm not even certain many slaves do.
You think slaves like it that way? Don't be ridiculous.
I didn't say they like it. It's all most of them know. In the south, you have alienages, slums, both human and elven. The desperate have no way out. Back home, a poor man can sell himself. As a slave, he could have a position of respect, comfort, and could even support a family. Some slaves are treated poorly, it's true. But do you honestly think inescapable poverty is better?
At least they're free. They don't have slavery forced on them.
You think people choose to be poor and oppressed? I doubt it. I don't know what it's like to be a slave, true. I never thought about it until I saw how different it was here. But I suspect you don't know either. Nor should you believe that every tale of Tevinter excess is the norm.
It seems strange that an entire empire would be ruled by mages.
I find it strange that your mages don't rule anything at all.
Actually, the fiction in the Imperium is that mages don't rule. The Magisterium rules. That magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
What is the Magisterium exactly?
The upper house of the Imperial Senate, and the only part worth having a seat on. Those seats are split among the circles of Magi, the Chantry, and the major families. All mages now. It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to every Tevinter mage.
If you're not a Magister, then what are you called? No special title?
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
I've never heard of an Altus.
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prophets of the old gods. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later. Lower class. If you're not a mage at all, you're Soperati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words.
I thought the Archon ruled over the Imperium.
Well, yes. Technically, he can overrule laws passed by the Magisterium, but that never happens. Even so, he gets to appoint new Magisters, which means all the families vie madly for his favor. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence, let me tell you.
If it's a fiction, that means mages do rule then.
Yes and no. Let me put it this way. Mages do rule, but not all mages are equal. If you're not from the right family, chances are you don't rule anything. Maybe you're even a slave. The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Can anyone be a mage?
Technically, the potential runs mostly in bloodlines, but it's been known to happen. More importantly, commoners believe it can. Tevinter legend is chock full of mage heroes from humble origins, so they hold out hope. Someday my son or my son's son will be a mage. Someday. Poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100 Pillars, at best.
Being a quaestor isn't a good thing.
I imagine the average non-mage likes to think so. Counting numbers and shuffling papers all day is better than many occupations after all. If you're a second-class citizen among a pack of piranha, however, your outlook changes.
There's an Imperial Chantry, isn't there? With its own divine.
You people aren't supposed to talk about the Black Divine, are you? If you mention him outside the Imperium, people make that face, like you're urinating in public. But yes, we do have the Chantry, or a version of it. Night and day comparing it to yours.
Is the Imperial Chantry so different from ours?
Not in theory. The main difference is in the whole magic is meant to serve man, not rule over him business. Back home, ruling the unwashed masses is serving them, for the good of the Imperium. Perhaps it started with good intentions, but these days it's academic. The circles are in command.
There are circles of magi in the Imperium.
We don't have dismal little mage prisons, if that's what you mean. They're academies, prestigious ones. We have Templars as well, but they don't cancel spells or whatever your Templars do. They're soldiers. They watch for abuse of magic, yes, but only those who are weak or who fall out of favor get dealt with. Mostly they enforce the Magisterium's edicts. The Chantry smiles and nods from the sidelines.
Do you really call him the Black Divine?
We don't call him that, oh no. In the Imperium, he's the true divine. The woman sitting on the Sunburst throne is some backwater pretender. It all stems from a disagreement over Andraste. Marvelous, isn't it?
Why would they disagree over Andraste?
It's not my field of expertise, but the Imperium believes Andraste was a mortal woman, a mage. Down south, they say, no, she's the bride of the Maker, ascended to his side, divine provenance, a blah blah blah. We feel better believing Andraste was one of us. Makes executing her less damning, you see. So we elected a man as divine, the South declared war, and we've been feuding cousins ever since.
So the Imperial Divine is always a man?
All the better to distinguish him from that other one, yes. Don't think there aren't a number of female magisters who bristle at that. Why can't they be divine after all? Same reason you never see a man on the Sunburst throne. Because that's how it's always been done. Excellent reasoning.
Do you consider yourself Andrastian?
The big question. It might surprise you that I do consider myself Andrastian. I simply do not believe in the Chantry. It is a relic, whether back home or here in the south. Something from a bygone age desperately clinging to relevance. It's not an opinion that makes me popular.
I share your opinion, actually.
That's not surprising, considering what the Inquisition represents. I'll say this. I may not believe in the Chantry, but I believe in you.
In me?
That the Maker sent you, whether through Andraste or fate. Cassandra is not wrong. You are what we needed most at the moment we needed it. That's what they will say in ages to come.
That's true. I feel the same.
My, someone's full of themselves, aren't they?
I was just agreeing with you.
Don't agree on my account. A little doubt wouldn't harm the Herald of Andraste. Me? I've seen too much to believe I know everything.
The world is bigger than I. Even bigger than you. It laughs at all the things we think we know. The Maker doesn't need me to believe. But I do. The thought of no one at all watching out for us is too frightening.
I'm wondering if the Imperium would be a useful ally.
I'd think you'd be more concerned whether or not they'd support the Venatori. They won't, of course. At least, not officially. They'll disavow all knowledge of dangerous cultists. Secretly, many magisters will rejoice at the idea. And if the South falls to chaos in the meantime, all the better.
It would be in the Imperium's best interest to help. Surely it could use allies.
I think the Imperium gave up on the idea of allies a long time ago. We've been fighting the Qunari for what, 200 years off and on? It's a point of pride that we go it alone. They'll sneer at the South behind their silk handkerchiefs and say, "You've had it easy for far too long." Let's not forget that the Inquisition seems to be an arm of the Orlesian Chantry. Anathema so far as they're concerned.
We're not part of the Chantry. The Chantry opposed the Inquisition's formation.
You think that matters? Don't be silly. The Herald of Andraste. Your very title smacks of the Southern Chantry. You may as well be a heathen. I think they're far more frightened what you'll do if you succeed.
Have you gone to see Alexius yet? He's in the cells.
Not yet, no. I saw him before they locked him up. He looked despondent, broken. Not the man I remember, nor the one I want to. I suppose the Inquisition will judge him eventually. I wonder if there's any chance they'll show him mercy. He hardly deserves it, but for Felix's sake. I can't help hoping there's something left of the man I once knew. Brilliant, isn't it? One moment you're trying to restore order in a world gone mad. That should be enough for anyone to handle, yes? Then, out of nowhere, an archdemon appears and kicks you in the head. What? You thought this would be easy? No, I was just hoping you wouldn't crush our village like an anthill. Sorry about that. Archdemons like to crush, you know. Can't be helped. Am I speaking too quickly for you?
I was distracted, that's all.
Distracted? By my wit and charm? I have plenty of both.
How interesting to find someone so aware of his strengths.
I'm a man of many talents. What can I say? I always assumed the Elder One behind the Venatori was a Magister. But this is something else completely. In Tevinter, they say the Chantry's tales of Magisters starting the Blight are just that. Tales. But here we are. One of those very Magisters. A dark spawn.
Who does the Imperium say started the Blight?
You know how it is. Not us. They say Darkspawn were always there. Magisters and the Blight aren't even related. Is that a surprise? No one wants to admit they shit the bed. But if Corypheus is one of the Magisters who entered the Black City and he's Darkspawn, what other explanation is there?
Why does that make you angry?
Because the Imperium is my home. I knew what I was taught couldn't be the whole truth, but I assumed there had to be a kernel of it, somewhere. But no, it was us all along. We destroyed the world.
Last I checked, the Blights hadn't actually destroyed the world.
Not for lack of trying. If they were more clever, they'd have unleashed something that would really do the job. No one will thank me, whatever happens. No one will thank you either. You know that, yes?
That's not why I'm doing this.
I knew there was something clever about you. All I know is this. Corypheus needs to be stopped. Men like him ruined my homeland. I won't stand by and let him ruin the world. Oh, and congratulations on that whole leading the Inquisition thing, by the way. So I take it you're Dalish? Is that the correct word here?
Yes, that's right.
We don't have Dalish clans coming northward, for obvious reasons. So I've never met one of your people before, although I've heard about them. A little. I hope this won't be an issue between us. I am here to help you deal with the Venatori, after all.
And I appreciate your help, Dorian.
Excellent. Mutual appreciation is a grand way to begin.
Anything interesting?
A letter regarding Felix, Alexius's son. He went to the Magisterium, stood on the Senate floor and told them of you. A glowing testimonial, I'm informed. No news on the reaction, but everyone back home is talking. Felix always was as good as his word.
Was?
He's dead. The Blight caught up with him.
Are you all right?
He was ill, and thus on borrowed time anyhow.
That doesn't mean you can't regret his death.
I know. Felix used to sneak me treats from the kitchens when I was working late in his father's study. Don't get into trouble on my behalf, I tell him. I like trouble, he'd say. Tevinter could use more mages like him. Those who put the good of others above themselves.
With the two of you...
Felix and I? What an odd question. No, I had no intention of abusing Alexius's hospitality by seducing his son. Not that I've been proper my whole life by any means. It wasn't like that. Even in illness, Felix was the best of us. With him around, you knew things could be better.
You make it sound like he was a better person than you.
What a mad thing to say. Few people are better than I. Very well, a better person, clearly, not nearly as handsome. Thankfully, Felix wasn't the only decent sort kicking around Thedas. I ran into Fiona. Seems you have Alexius serving the mages. There's some justice in that after what he did to them. Maybe one day he'll realize it.
You said Alexius was a mentor of yours.
He was my patron, sponsoring me to the higher levels of the Circle of Magi. In return, my successes were his. I had a lot of successes, naturally. Alexius was most pleased. He and I used to talk over brandy about the corruption, how we could one day make real change in the Imperium. And then he gave up. He stopped trying.
Why did he give up?
On a journey to Hossberg, a Darkspawn raid killed his wife and sickened his son. I remember hearing the news. He hadn't been there, you see. Alexius was convinced he could have protected them. And the guilt tore him up. I helped him with his research for a while, and then we drifted apart.
That must have been difficult.
Back then, I was furious. I told him to snap out of it, move on. I thought I had all the answers. Later, I regretted my hasty words. But we didn't speak again until he approached me for the Venatori. Too much pride, I suppose. Plus, I was busy drinking. One must have priorities.
Was it hard being away from him?
It was hard not having a patron, yes. I'm not exactly built to fit in. At any rate, he's fallen so low, I doubt he'll ever get up. Sad, really. I could watch you roam Skyhold all day. Here and there you run, checking in on your followers. Why don't they come to you, feed you grapes, rub your shoulders? I suppose it's more fun this way. For me, I mean. You're rather strapping.
I've noticed you're rather strapping yourself.
Of course you have. That only takes eyes.
Luckily, I have those.
You do. A rather fetching pair. At any rate, you didn't pass by to hear me fawn. Something on your mind? The Inquisitor's work is never done, I see.
Dorian, there's a letter you need to see.
A letter? Is it a naughty letter? A humorous proposal from some Antivan dowager?
Not quite. It's from your father.
From my father? I see. And what does Magister Hallward want, pray tell?
A meeting.
Show me this letter. I know my son? What my father knows of me would barely fill a thimble. This is so typical. I'm willing to bet this retainer is a henchman, hired to knock me on the head and drag me back to Tevinter.
You think your father would actually do that?
No, although I wouldn't put it past him. Let's go. Let's meet this so-called family retainer. If it's a trap, we escape and kill everyone. You're good at that. If it's not, I send the man back to my father with a message that he can stick his alarm in his wit's end.
There seems to be bad blood between you and your family.
Interesting turn of phrase. But you're correct. They don't care for my choices, nor I for theirs.
Because you wouldn't get married. Because you left.
That too.
Let's go meet this retainer then.
I wonder how much my father paid this man to wait around just in case I showed. We'll find out soon enough. Uh-oh, nobody's here. This doesn't bode well.
Dorian.
Father. So the whole story about the family retainer was just, what? A smokescreen?
Then you were told. I apologize for the deception, Inquisitor. I never intended for you to be involved.
Of course not. Magister Pavus couldn't come to Skyhold and be seen with the dread Inquisitor. What would people think? What is this exactly, Father? Ambush? Kidnapping? Warm family reunion?
This is how it has always been.
You went through all of this to get Dorian here. Talk to him.
Yes, Father. Talk to me.
Let me hear how mystified you are by my anger.
Dorian, there's no need to.
I prefer the company of men. My father disapproves.
I'll need you to explain that.
Did I stutter? Men, and the company thereof, as in sex. Surely you've heard of it.
This is not exactly news, Dorian.
And why should it be? Why should anyone care? I have no idea.
This display is uncalled for.
No, it is called for. You called for it by luring me here.
This is not what I wanted.
I'm never what you wanted, Father. Or had you forgotten?
That's a big concern in Tevinter, then.
Only if you're trying to live up to an impossible standard. Every Tevinter family is intermarrying to distill the perfect mage, perfect body, perfect mind, the perfect leader. It means every perceived flaw, every aberration is deviant and shameful. It must be hidden.
Your father might be here to reach out. You could give him a chance.
Let's just go.
Dorian, please. If you'll only listen to me.
Why? So you can spout more convenient lies? He taught me to hate blood magic. The resort of the weak mind. Those are his words. But what was the first thing you did when your precious heir refused to play pretend for the rest of his life? You tried to change me.
I only wanted what was best for you.
You wanted the best for you. For your fucking legacy. Anything for that.
You got a lot off your chest. Can't you give him a chance to do the same?
Tell me why you came.
If I knew, I would drive you to the Inquisition.
You didn't. I joined the Inquisition because it's the right thing to do. Once, I had a father who would have known that.
Once, I had a son who trusted me. A trust I betrayed. I only wanted to talk to him, to hear his voice again, to ask him to forgive me.
He says we're alike. Too much pride. Once I would have been overjoyed to hear him say that. Now I'm not certain. I don't know if I can forgive him.
Are you all right?
No, not really. Thank you for bringing me out there. It wasn't what I expected, but it's something. Maker knows what you must think of me now, after that whole display.
I don't think less of you. More, if possible.
The things you say.
I mean it.
My father never understood. Living a lie, it festers inside of you like poison. You have to fight for what's in your heart.
I agree.
I see you enjoy playing with fire, Inquisitor. At any rate, time to drink myself into a stupor. It's been that sort of day. Join me sometime, if you've a mind.
Inquisitor. Good, good. This is exactly what I was hoping for.
What? Is that why we're here? How do you even know about the amulet? I hope you aren't intending to help me get it back. I can do this myself.
I apologize, but that won't be possible. Do forgive me, Inquisitor. But when I heard of your association with Monsieur Pavus, I could not resist. You see, the young man sold me a rather valuable amulet many months ago. Then he returned, asking to buy it back. Why would I simply sell it? Not only is it useful, there are others who could offer much more.
You loathsome little cretin. That's why you were so stubborn.
There is no need for insults, monsieur. I am interested only in doing good business.
Aren't you a merchant? Why not just sell it back?
I am not a fence, monsieur. I only bought your friend's amulet because of what it is. I do business in the Imperium. Having a birthright, even one not your own, is most useful in select situations.
Huh. He's got the right of it there.
That's why I gave the young man so much. If he relinquished it, how is that my doing?
You want something from me. What would you like?
The Ligue de Celestine is an organization of wealthy noblemen in Orlais. I would join, but I lack the lineage. If someone like you applied pressure, they would admit me. That would be worth the return of the amulet.
Very well. I'll do as you ask.
What? You're going to give in to this cretin?
Do you want your amulet back?
Yes, I do. I simply...
Much obliged, your worship. The moment I receive an invitation from the League, I'll have the amulet delivered. It's been an honor doing business with you.
Influence mongering. I don't want to be in your debt. I don't want to be in anyone's debt.
You don't think...
I don't want to discuss it. You have remarkably little here on early Tevinter history. All these gifts to the Inquisition, and the best they can do is the Malefica Imperio. Trite propaganda. But if you want 20 volumes on whether Divine Galatea took a shit on Sunday, this is evidently the place to find it.
That's the Dorian I know. Critiquing every book in my library.
I wouldn't have to if you could find some rebellious heretic archivist to join the cause.
Are there rebellious archivists? Other than you, that is.
If Corypheus ever starts burning masterworks of literature, I'm sure a few will pop up. Did I see something by Genitivi here? I could have sworn.
What is this about, Dorian?
When we fell into the chasm, into the Fade, I thought you were done for. I don't know if I can forgive you for that moment.
I'm sorry you had to go through it with me.
I'm not sorry I was there with you. I thought I'd lost you. You sent me ahead and then didn't follow. For just a moment, I was certain you wouldn't. I thought, this is it. This is where I finally lose him forever. Are you... all right?
It was like walking in a nightmare, but everything was real. I couldn't...
It's as I thought. The Fade is an ordeal under normal circumstances. To be the only real thing there, beyond description. That any of us made it out alive is difficult to believe. That you made it out, a miracle. You do realize this feat hasn't been performed in over 1,000 years. Corypheus and his contemporaries entered the Fade and began the Blights. In comparison...
At least you were at my side.
No offense, but I'd almost rather I hadn't been.
No sense of adventure? That's surprising.
I've not your talent for survival. And not everyone is as discerning as I. If you can walk in the Fade, others will try to follow. Who knows what secrets Corypheus has revealed? Not all of them will be as lucky as you. What they could unleash. My advice? Keep this quiet. Let them speculate. Too many will see this as a challenge.
That's a good idea.
There are enough idiots in the world who think if they just use enough blood magic, their problems will vanish. It's exactly the sort of thing I want to stop back home. This I don't need. What I do need is a copy of the Liberalum. I'll wager I can find Corypheus's real name. If I can prove he was a grasping ankle-biter with no family to speak of, the luster would come right off. Wish me luck.
I don't know what you think you're doing.
I'm being clucked at by a hen, evidently.
Don't play the fool with me, young man.
If I wanted to play the fool, I could be rather more convincing, I assure you.
Your glib tongue does you no credit.
You'd be surprised at the credit my tongue gets me, Your Reverence.
Oh,
What's going on here?
It seems the revered mother is concerned about my undue influence over you.
It is just concern. Your worship, you must know how this looks.
You might need to spell it out, my dear.
This man is of Tevinter. His presence at your side, the rumors alone.
What's wrong with him being from Tevinter, specifically?
I'm fully aware that not everyone from the Imperium is the same.
How kind of you to notice. Yet still you bow to the opinion of the masses.
The opinion of the masses is based on centuries of evidence. What would you have me tell them?
The truth?
The truth is I do not know you, and neither do they. Thus, these rumors will continue.
There's no cause for concern, Your Reverence.
With all due respect, you underestimate the effect this man has on the people's good opinion.
Do the people know how he's helped the Inquisition?
See, I meant no disrespect, Inquisitor. Only to ask after this man's intentions. If you feel he is without ulterior motive, then I humbly beg forgiveness of you both.
Well, that's something.
She didn't get to you, did she?
No, it takes more to get to me than thinly veiled accusations.
You don't think she'll do anything?
Do what? Yours is the good opinion I care about, not hers. It does make me wonder. Is my influence over you undue?
Perhaps. But it's the kind of undue influence I enjoy.
No one accused you of being politically astute.
Not today.
I tease you too much, I know.
It's helpful when you turn that scathing wit on people other than me.
I'll have to find something we can do that doesn't involve teasing. Soon, ideally.
Here it is.
Now I'm indebted to you. I never wanted this, I told you.
I didn't do this so you would be indebted to me, Dorian. I did it for you.
That's the problem.
How is that a problem?
Someone intelligent would cozy up to the Inquisitor if they could. It'd be foolish not to. He can open doors, get you whatever you want, shower you with gifts and power. That's what they'll say. I'm the Magister who's using you.
Is that all? Go ahead and use me, Dorian. Or are you all talk?
Oh, you are glorious. I was an ass earlier at the Merchants. It's my specialty. I apologize and thank you. I'm going to stop before I say something syrupy, but I won't forget this, and I will repay you. Count on it. Have you been to your quarters lately by chance?
Not recently.
Do, when you have the time. There's something there that might interest you. So, it's all very nice, this flirting business. I am, however, not a nice man. So, here is my proposal. We dispense with the chit-chat and move on to something more primal. It'll set tongues wagging, of course. Not that they aren't already wagging. I suppose it really depends. How bad does the Inquisitor want to be?
I thought you'd never ask.
I like playing hard to get.
And now?
I'm gotten. I like your quarters.
Do you now?
Don't misunderstand. I'm not suggesting we venture into mutual domesticity. I just like your appointments.
Ah.
Not that I couldn't suggest some changes. Your taste is a little austere.
If you want to change things around.
No, that's not what I want. I'm curious where this goes, you and I. We've had fun, perfectly reasonable to leave it here, get on with the business of killing archdemons and such.
Tell me what you want.
All on me, then.
Should it be all on me?
I like you. More than I should. More than might be wise. We end it here, I walk away. I won't be pleased, but I'd rather now than later. Later might be dangerous.
Why dangerous?
Walking away might be harder then.
I want more than just fun, Dorian. Speechless, I see.
I was
expecting something different. Where I come from, anything between two men, it's about pleasure. It's accepted, but taken no further. You learn not to hope for more. You'd be foolish to.
This is more, Dorian. Right here.
Funny, I didn't recognize it then. Care to, inquisit me again? I'll be more specific in my directions this time. Show off.
I have to admit, it does feel good to have my amulet back. I'm not above a bit of attachment, apparently. Bloody thing.
I need to talk to you.
Just talk? Such a pity.
I thought we could discuss what happens after.
Ah, yes. After. Dreadful thing, after. Let's see. Assuming one or both of us aren't slaughtered along the way, what do you wish to happen? We could go our separate ways if you prefer. I've been a port in a storm before. I would understand.
Of course not. I want us to be together as long as we can.
You're very sentimental for someone who's killed as many people as you have.
You bring it out in me.
Sweet maker. Next you'll be making calf eyes at puppies. I don't know what the future holds. For us or anything. That's my honest answer. Once Corypheus is defeated, when this is over, I'd like to talk about it more. If you would. This is all so familiar. I half expect my mother to materialize from the crowd and criticize my manners.
Don't wear yourself out mingling. I expect a dance before this is over.
Dancing with the evil Magister, in full view of every noble in Orlais. How shocking.
They'll live.
You say that now. If you can find me 10 silk scarves, I've got a dance that will really shock them. There was an ancient dowager looking for you. Said she had 12 daughters. I told her you'd left already. You can thank me later or now. But you look lost in thought. Something on your mind?
I'm just worn out. Tonight has been very long.
You won. You saved the day, literally. The day is saved. You should be celebrating. Enjoy yourself while you can. What you need is a distraction. I have just the thing. Let's dance.
I was hoping you'd ask.
Thank goodness one of us has a little initiative.
Marvelous business, the Winter Palace. You saved an empress, and now she's eating out of your hand. Perfect mental image. All this dancing, politics, and murder makes me a bit homesick.
Personally, I'll remember our dance.
There could have been more corpses about.
Although I suppose we might have tripped over them.
You're a grim young man, Dorian.
Nonsense. I simply enjoy the drama. I hope you tried the ham they were serving, by the way. Tasted of despair. It's fascinating. What happened at the Elven Temple? It's got me thinking. I should go back, shouldn't I? To Tevinter. Once this is done. If we're still alive. All my talk of how terribly wrong things are back home. But what do I do about it? Nothing.
How does this relate to the Elven Temple?
It was history, right there, staring us in the face. Maybe my people can atone for what we've done. There is something still left to restore. Maybe not all of us want to, but that could be altered. If you can change minds, so can I.
You would just leave. What about...
Us? Trust me, Amatus. It would give me no pleasure to leave your side. You make monumental decisions affecting the entire world. How can I not consider some of my own?
Why don't I go with you?
Take you away from all this? I can't ask that of you.
You don't have to ask. I'm offering.
Tempting. We both know you would end up doing it all yourself. As much as watching my homeland beaten into submission would amuse me, this is something I need to do.
But I need you at my side. Now more than ever.
Emotional blackmail is a fine thing to pull out of your arsenal.
But I didn't...
I'm joking. I'll think about it. Closely. This is your fault, remember? You inspired me with your marvelous antics. You're shaping the world, for good or ill. How could I aspire to do any less? If it means proving that Tevinter can be better, that there's hope even for my homeland, I would do anything. And you're alive. And I'm alive. Incredible, isn't it? I was passing through the hall this morning and a serving girl saw me and squealed. Actually squealed, dropped her laundry and everything. Such a mess. She was completely breathless.
You were at the battle with the evil one, weren't you?
I didn't even get a chance to answer. She hugged me. Hugged me. This is your influence.
That's what happens when you're a hero.
Is that so? Must be why it's so unfamiliar. Mind you, I can't say I hate the notion of being the good Tevinter. I suppose you can't all be evil bastards. The blacksmith said that, and he spat when we first met. I hope my father hears. He will shit his small clothes from shock, I swear.
You're an example of how noble Tevinter could be.
For Southerners, maybe. Back home, they'll be rolling their eyes behind their fans. Meanwhile, they'll conveniently forget the bastards who wanted Corypheus ruling us all. I've decided to stay with the Inquisition. For now.
You will?
There's no you in Tevinter. What else matters? Going somewhere, Amatus? You didn't think one brief chat would be enough, did you?
Did you need me for something?
I do. Come with me. See? Much better. Yes, I'm sure you have all the things to say. 2 things in private before you run off. First, you are terribly dull and I hate you.
What's the second?
I hope this ends soon.
Orlais is on your side, Lord Pavus. The Inquisition's support is not a thing to lose lightly.
Which is why the Orlesian court is circling it with a net and collar? But you'll have to excuse me. I see an old friend I must greet. Amatus. Wading through all the pomp and circumstance, I see.
You're back after being away in Tevinter for a month, and this is how you greet me.
I have an apology ready.
What have you learned about this council?
Orlais wants the Inquisition tamed, Ferelden wants it gone, the Chantry meddles, and Tevinter sends but one ambassador. That's me, by the way. A reward for my interest in the South. Thankfully, Ambassador Pavus is a token appointment. Call on me as you like.
As the most eloquent dwarf you know, Sparkles...
Speech! Speech! Way too much speech.
Varric, there's really no need.
What's going on?
Inquisitor! You're just in time. Sparkles, the Imperium doesn't deserve you. Or want you. It may even kill you. But we'll miss you. If it counts. And you didn't know. Okay, folks. Time to take the party elsewhere.
Tommen never wanted any. I swear.
Leave him.
It's true. I couldn't stay away from Tevinter forever. I'm leaving as soon as the Exalted Council is done.
Tevinter needs someone like you.
My father is dead. Assassinated, I believe. I received notice this morning. A perversely cheerful letter congratulating me on assuming his seat in the Magisterium. We only met a few times while I was home. He didn't say anything about keeping me as his heir. This ambassadorship, his doing, I'm told. He must have wanted me away when the trouble began. I have to go back.
I know it was complicated, but I'm sorry about your father.
Thank you. It still doesn't feel real.
What of us? This is it, then?
Nonsense. There will always be an us. We'll just be farther apart for a time. Now, don't pout. They'll put that expression on a statue, and then you'll be sorry.
You think this is funny?
Nothing about this is funny. I am sorry, for what it's worth.
So you'll truly be a Magister?
Oh, yes. I can't wait to degrade the Magisterium with my presence. A new outfit is required.
And then what?
I find my father's killers and kill them back. Then I find those giving Tevinter a bad name and kill them. They're most likely the same people, so that should make the job easier.
You'll need help. I could go with you.
Not this time, Amatus. I won't be entirely without support. Mayveris has gathered other Magisters who feel as we do. We'll be an actual faction in the Magisterium. I'll teach them manners, take them shopping. It'll be fun.
I wish you safe travels, and the best of luck.
Oh, I'll need it, thank you. Magisters are tricksy bastards. A present. A going-away present. It's a sending crystal. Amazing what friendship with the Inquisition gives you access to. If I get in over my head, or you're overwhelmed with sorrow for lack of my velvety voice... magic. What? You didn't think I would just leave and you'd never hear from me again, did you? You are the man I love, Amatus. Nothing will truly keep us apart. Now let's finish the good wine before the others get back. I'm moving up in the world. Tevinter Ambassador. Fancy. Sad that it doesn't come with a stipend, or at least a decorative pin.
What is this ambassadorship about, exactly?
I believe my father set it up, but the Imperium certainly didn't object. They'd love for the Inquisition to fall apart, so they're happy if it seems they consider this council a waste of time.
That makes no sense.
No? If Dread Tevinter actually pushed for the Inquisition's end, everyone else would disagree on principle. So they send a nobody pariah and hope for the best. Makes perfect sense to me.
Any thoughts about the Exalted Council?
A few. Divine Victoria needs a new tailor for one. From the paintings of Leliana in that enormous robe, you'd think she was pregnant. Could cause a delicious scandal. As for this whole Exalted Council business, well... I warned you once that no one would thank you for saving the world. Sadly, I'm always right. So long as the Inquisition's around to remind them they're not really in charge, they'll never sleep comfortably. Whether they have the guts to take action, I suppose we'll see. Leliana told us about your little pyrotechnic display during your last chat. Why didn't you say something? I could have... I don't know, something.
Whatever happens, I wouldn't trade the years we've had together for anything. I love you.
I knew you would break my heart, you bloody bastard.
My agents have found nothing. With the Illuvians, he could be anywhere.
Maintaining the Inquisition, even as a peacekeeping force, leaves us vulnerable to agents of the Dread Wolf.
But also gives us the strength to respond.
We will need to be careful.
Solus knows everything about us. Who we are, how we work, our strengths and weaknesses.
Then we find people he doesn't know. We will save our friend from himself. If we can.